Bats are mammals of the order Chiroptera, with their forelimbs adapted as wings. They are the only mammals capable of true and sustained flight. Bats are more maneuverable than most birds, flying with their very long spread-out digits covered with a thin membrane or patagium. The smallest bat, and arguably the smallest extant mammal, is Kitti's hog-nosed bat, which is 29 to 34 mm in mass. The largest bats are the flying foxes, with the giant golden-crowned flying fox, Acerodon jubatus, reaching a weight of 1.6 kg and having a wingspan of 1.7 meters. The second largest order of mammals after rodents. Bats comprise about 20% of all classified mammal species worldwide, with over 1,400 species. These were traditionally divided into two suborders, the largely fruit-eating megabats, and the echolocating microbats, but more recent evidence has supported dividing the order into Enterochiroptera and Yangachiroptera, with megabats as members of the former along with several species of microbats. Many bats are insectivores, and most of the rest are frugivores or nectarivores. A few species feed on animals other than insects. For example, the vampire bats feed on blood. Most bats are nocturnal, and many roost in caves or other refuges. It is uncertain whether bats have these behaviors to escape predators. Bats are present throughout the world, with the exception of extremely cold regions. They are important in their ecosystems for pollinating flowers and dispersing seeds. Many tropical plants depend entirely on bats for these services. Bats provide humans with some direct benefits, at the cost of some disadvantages. Bat dung has been mined as guano from caves and used as fertilizer. Bats consume insect pests, reducing the need for pesticide and other insect management measures. They are sometimes numerous enough and close enough to human settlements to serve as tourist attractions, and they are used as food across Asia and the Pacific Rim. However, fruit bats are frequently considered pests by fruit growers. Due to their physiology, bats are one type of animal that acts as a natural reservoir of many pathogens, such as rabies, and since they are highly mobile, social, and long-lived, they can readily spread disease among themselves. If humans interact with bats, these traits become potentially dangerous to humans. Depending on the culture, bats may be symbolically associated with positive traits, such as protection from certain diseases or risks, rebirth, or long life. But in the West, bats are popularly associated with darkness, malevolence, witchcraft, vampires, and death. An older English name for bats is flittermouse, which matches their name in other Germanic languages influenced by Latin blatter, moth, nocturnal insect. The word bat was probably first used in the early 1570s. The name Chiroptera derives from ancient Greek chair, hand, and teron, wing. The delicate skeletons of bats do not fossilize well. It is estimated that only 12% of bat genera that lived have been found in the fossil record. Most of the oldest known bat fossils were already very similar to modern microbats, such as Archaeopteropus are the first fossil mammals whose coloration has been discovered. Both were reddish-brown. Bats were formerly grouped in the superorder Archonta, along with the tree shrews. Uarchontoglyas Eulapotyphla Chiroptera Folidota Carnivora Perissodactyla Cetertiodactyla The phylogenetic relationships of the different groups of bats have been the subject of much debate. The traditional subdivision into Megachiroptera and Microchiroptera reflected the view that these groups of bats had evolved independently of each other for a long time, from a common ancestor already capable of flight. This hypothesis recognized differences between microbats and megabats and acknowledged that flight has evolved only once in mammals. Most molecular biological evidence supports the view that bats form a natural or monophyletic group. Pteropodidae Megadermatidae Crassinisteridae Rhinopomatidae Hipposideridae Rhinolophidae Miniopteridae Noctilionidae Mormupodidae Mysticinidae Thyroteridae Furiteridae Mormupodidae Philostomadae Molosidae Ambalanuridae Mysopodidae Ambalanuridae Natalidae Vespertilinidae. Genetic evidence indicates that megabats originated during the early Eocene, and belong within the 4 major lines of microbats. 2 new suborders have been proposed. Enterochiroptera includes the Pteropodidae, or megabat family, as well as the families Rhinolophidae, Hippocidaridae, Gracionisteridae, Megadermatidae, and Rhinopomatidae. Younger Chiroptera includes the other families of bats, a conclusion supported by a 2005 DNA study. A 2013 phylogenomic study supported the 2 new proposed suborders, Younger Chiroptera Pteropodidae Megadermatidae horseshoe bats and allies in the 1980s. A hypothesis based on morphological evidence stated the Megachiroptera evolved flight separately from the Microchiropt.